All right, so for today's Wildcat Wednesday feature, I'm joined by Jackie Krawczak, who is a 2001 graduate of Alpena High School, and she is currently as a corporate representative for Innova Technology Professional Services. And so, Jackie, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, yeah, I'm happy. I was happy for the invite and happy to be here.
Awesome. So, to really get things going, and I always like to start these Wildcat Wednesday features with talking about your experience at the high school. So I'm going to kind of show you something.
Oh boy.
So when you see this, what immediately comes to mind when you see that?
Well, I mean, that's obviously my senior picture. It makes me it makes me realize how long ago that was. But no, just all of high school memories sort of come flooding back when I see that, and how happy I was to graduate, not to get out of the school, but just how like accomplished I felt at that point. And then to think about all the things I've done since, it's been kind of crazy.
And then, of course, I can't let you go. I got one more here. Volleyball.
Oh man, that's funny. That's really funny because I was watching football yesterday, and one of the players had the number 9 jersey, and I said that was always my number in volleyball. So proof there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved volleyball. I mean, that was definitely a highlight of my junior high and high school years. It was so much fun.
And of course, you played for the legendary Melissa Dobeck.
Yes, she was awesome. She's just an amazing person, very high energy and just incredible.
Yeah, high energy is definitely a term I would use as well to describe Melissa. So,
Yeah.
So when you think of Alpena High School, what are kind of the top things you think about?
Oh man, it was fun. I think that's one of the things is just how much fun it was. But I think if you would have asked me when I was a high schooler, I would have said different things than I'm going to say today. But great preparation for what comes next, I would say. I've built a really strong foundation based on what I learned in high school, and not just learn like in the classrooms, there was that too, but also outside of the classrooms and interacting with people and the social component and the after school activities and all of that. So um, that's what I think of a lot, is just how well it prepared me for what comes next. But also, I still have my 2 best friends were from high school and prior to that actually. So I just think about all the fun times that we had, and um, all the things that we got to do and give to the school in ways like decorating for dances and being involved in those events, and Spirit Week and all that stuff was so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, and so you're obviously still in the area. So when you
Mhm.
walk into the high school, what are the first things that pop out to you that's different in 2020 than when you were here in 2020 or 2001?
Well, I think the obvious one this year is COVID related. There's just not, it's not the same, because a lot of times there's not even people in the building, or they're all wearing masks. But um, I don't, the biggest differences I think would be in structure, or like, I don't want to say layout, but really the structure of the school. What used to be the small commons is no longer small commons, and there's a whole nother wing added. And it's just, even though a lot of it's still the same, it's also very different in some of those ways. There's like the lounge off the, I don't know what it's called now, the large commons or whatever. There's
Oh,
like
the
that
senior
senior,
lounge. Yep.
yeah, the senior lounge, that wasn't there before. So it is neat to see some of those changes and how things have been adapted. And then also the classrooms that are like 2 classrooms put together for, I don't know what you guys call it, like
The PBL.
yes, project-based learning classrooms. That stuff is just different to see. But it's
Mhm.
cool though that there's those kinds of changes, because it means the school is doing what they can to keep up with, the needs of the students.
Yeah. So okay, so you leave Alpena High School. Where do you go when you leave the high school? When you graduate 2001, what's the next step that you take?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I still am not entirely sure, but I went to Alpena Community College because it was paid for. At the time, there was some money available you get certain test scores, and you got um, money for college. And so it was completely paid for 2 years at ACC. So I got a associate's degree from there. Applied to several schools, ended up going to Saginaw Valley because, again, I followed the money and also visited the campus, and I thought it was beautiful and modern and small, large enough to be different than anything Alpena, but small enough and close enough to home that I didn't feel so foreign, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I ended up with a bachelor's degree in communication because that's just what I kind of felt drawn to, I guess. And then after that, I still wasn't sure what to do. I felt like I wasn't done with school yet. So I applied for master's programs. I liked communication. So I applied for master's programs and then ended up again following the money and went to Central for a master's program in communication as well.
Wow. So then you get your master's degree in communication, and where do you start from there?
Yeah, I had done my thesis. So two things kind of came together to, I guess, propel me into the next part of my career trajectory. But I was an intern at the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce while I was at Central. And then I had worked on my thesis I didn't what's called an applied thesis and not a research-based thesis because I knew I wanted to work and not go into a PhD program and teach. So I worked with a business up here in Alpena because I had that connection from growing up here and wrote my thesis with that business. And so they were involved with the local chamber of commerce. And so when I graduated, I had internship experience at a chamber, had gotten to know this business quite well. And the chamber up here was looking for a new director. And so I always joke that they thought, well, she's young and naive. She doesn't know what she's getting herself into. And so I actually, through that connection, ended up applying for and getting the job as the Chamber of Commerce executive director at the time in Alpena. Was there for about 13 years. And then just recently, I changed jobs to become the corporate representative for Innovatech Professional Services, which is what I do now. But also in the meantime, in the last 5 years, I also started my own LLC. It's very creative. It's Jackie Krawczak LLC. Yeah, super creative.
Yeah.
And so I do both of those jobs now.
Okay. So what led you to create your own LLC? So what's, first off, I'm sure people don't know this, what is an LLC?
Well, it's limited liability corporation, so it's a business. There's several different, without getting into the details, there's just different ways to set up businesses, and so it's a corporation.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a business.
Okay. So what led you into creating that?
Yeah, well, it's my passions, I guess, and my interests. And what happened was I write a lot. So I was writing for the Alpena News, which I still do, a guest sort of columnist every couple weeks, and was getting very good feedback on that. And I was also being asked to be a guest speaker at a lot of different things. That combined with some personal experiences that I had and telling those stories, people just kept asking me to get involved. Like, will you come talk to our staff about this or write something for our newsletter or whatever. So I ended up, they wanted to pay me. So I ended up turning it into a business.
Awesome.
And I still do that. And I like it. I'm focused with the business. I really focus on a lot of leadership training and development and then motivational writing and speaking.
I've actually had the honor of hearing your message that you provide through your LLC, and if anyone's listening that hasn't heard your message, Jackie, I think it's very strong and very powerful. So I encourage anybody out there listening to this to reach out to you to hear what you have to say, because it is very, very powerful for anybody to hear. One thing that I've always, and for people that don't know, I've worked pretty closely with you since I came to Alpena as a member of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. And so one thing I've always kind of found interesting about you is your ability to take your story and reach different audiences for what they're needed. So I definitely encourage anybody to do that for you, because you have an amazing message to be heard.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks for that business plug.
Yeah. Not saying I'm endorsing, but I am.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So you go to the chamber, and what are some things that really highlighted your time at the chamber?
Oh, I'm so proud of a lot of the things there. First, the team was incredible, and I love that team that I worked with there. In fact, I still work with some of the team.
Yeah, we won't mention that.
Yeah, I know. So, no, it's good. But I'm really proud of the things that we accomplished there. I look back and every day I was so amazed at the amount of work that we got accomplished and the things that we achieved on a shoestring budget and a small staff. And We grew membership, we grew our programs and revenue, and the value really that we provided to the community, to the business community first and foremost. But then also the recognition around the state. We gave Alpena some recognition that we absolutely deserved here. And so I'm just proud of where we took the chamber, like where it started, when I started, and where it was, and then where we took it, 13 years later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was only part of it for a couple of years, but yeah, absolutely. It was always tremendously awesome to sit in that room with people that, and I never told you this. I always felt very small in that room because of all the very powerful and knowledgeable people, and I was very quiet during a lot of our meetings because I just wanted to hear and absorb everything that people had to say. And one thing about Alpena that has blown me away in the now 4 years that I've been here is there is a tremendous amount of very gifted, talented, caring, loving people here, and it's amazing to sit in a room with those people and just be in awe of them.
Yeah, our community is it's very, very cool that we are very supportive of one another. It may not seem like it sometimes when you get, into the weeds of social media and all the sewer of social media. But really at the end of the day, if there's truly a need, the community steps up and makes it happen. So it's pretty
Absolutely.
incredible.
So talk a little bit about what you do now. What is your job, and what does a day look like for you now?
Yeah, so I'm called corporate representative, and I really believe that's because they don't know what else to call me because I do a bunch of different things. And so it's pretty easy to morph that into whatever it needs to be. So I am currently responsible. So basically, I work for a group of manufacturers in town, which some people might have heard of, Omni Metalcraft Corporation. That's one of the client companies that I work for. And my role is, there's a couple different pieces to it. One is helping to make it an attractive place to work, a place where people want to come to work. So that being said, I'm also responsible for all of the work in what we call the pipeline, talent pipeline. So recruiting people to want to come to work here all the way through their interview and whether they get an offer or not. So I'm kind of responsible for the team and for all of that work. In addition to some of that culture stuff, how do we make it a better place for people to want to work? And then also I'm working on competency development. So how do we get people who both work here currently and who want to work here to want to and take steps to increase their competencies to, I guess, move up or, do more within the organization. So how do we provide them? Is it, do we send them to more classes and training and schooling, or do we bring someone in to help train them? So all of those pieces as well. We're building that as well.
So I guess leads into my last question for you. What advice do you have for high school students that when they leave Alpena High School, what are you looking for when you are looking for a talented person to become an employee of a company?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really difficult right now because the people who want to be working are working.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle with some very consistent things with people who somewhere along the way work ethic seems to have dwindled. And so what I tell people is there are the opportunities for you, not you, but to high school students, I'm saying this too. The opportunities are endless if you have a positive attitude. You're willing to continue to learn because what you learned in high school, that doesn't end your learning. That's really just the beginning. If you show up on time every day, and by show up, I don't mean physically just being there, but I mean actually show up mentally in the game, ready to go, and have critical thinking ability. So, I know in school that's something that teachers work into their classrooms is critical thinking, but that's a big deal. Like, what's your problem solving ability? So if you have those things, your opportunities in this world are endless. I look at the group of companies I work for, and yes, you're going to start at the bottom. Even if you get a degree in engineering, you're going to start as the low man on the totem pole as an engineer. But if you bring those things to the table, that work ethic, that positive attitude, teamwork, you have this array of opportunities in front of you to go where you want to go and do what you want to do and be involved in some really cool things. But without those characteristics or those traits, it's going to be a tough road.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a very, very busy person, and we appreciate you taking this opportunity. But again, as a building principal here at Alpena, it always impresses me to tap into the talent that we have of our alumni base, and you are certainly one that has left Alpena but came back and is contributing to our community. So thank you for that. And we look forward to continuing the relationship between you and the high school in any way that we can. And again, thank you so much for your time. And again, this was Jackie Krawczak, class of 2001, our feature for Wildcat Wednesday. And again, Jackie, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.